is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Apparently, some people don't like saving money. Apparently, Washington Redskin fans and, I don't know, seeming like every other football pundit out there thinks paying full price is better than getting a deal. Because as far as I'm concerned, the Washington Redskins just took a trip down the value aisle and found what they were already buying at half off. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Late last night, the Washington Redskins traded a third-round draft pick and cornerback Kendall Fuller to the Kansas City Chiefs for quarterback Alex Smith. And this has set off a series of reactions, opinions, guffaws from most of the football community, the Washington fandom, of how is it we could bank our future on 34-year-old Alex Smith? How that we could bank our future on a guy who's led the Kansas City Chiefs to one playoff victory during his tenure. And I'll tell you why. Because he's basically the same guy you've been running out there for the last 4 years. Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith are virtually indistinguishable. The only difference is the price. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. There's that commercial going around, and I can't remember who it's a commercial for, but it's something like, some people like pre-shaken sodas. Some people enjoy walking into glass walls. Some people like sitting on an airline with a kid kicking the back seat for the entire flight. What is this? What is the commercial, Strudy? Do you remember it?
I think it's Geico.
Is it a Geico?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the lesson of the commercial at the end is some people like paying full price, right? Well, that's obviously true when it comes to the Alex Smith trade to the Washington Redskins, which has certainly sealed the fate of Kirk Cousins as he'll look for a new team to guide next year. By the way, I was book shopping this past weekend, and I bought 2 books. I wanted to go find this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. And I think it's a book about stoicism and not letting the little things get you down in life. So I'll let you know how that one goes. But I ended up buying another book while I was there called The 48 Laws of Power. And I was just flipping through it. And one of the lessons in the 48 Laws of Power is always pay full price. Because when you get a deal, when somebody gives you something on sale, it comes with a debt of gratitude. It comes with owing them something. And the person in search of power wouldn't want to be beholden to somebody because they had gotten a good deal. Just go ahead and pay the full price and be free and retain your power. But in this scenario, when it comes to the Washington Redskins and the Kansas City Chiefs, the goal is to get rich, not to be powerful. The goal is to win the game of football. And that by that I mean we're going to use the term rich for how you do so. But I guess I'm alone. I guess I'm alone in seeing that Alex Smith is just a cheaper version of Kirk Cousins. Because Twitter exploded last night and talk shows exploded this morning. Everyone seemed to be on the side of, this is ridiculous for Washington. This makes no sense for the Redskins. Here's a sample. Here's Trey Wingo on Golick and Wingo this morning.
What Washington decided, which I find interesting, is that we're willing, because they signed him to, a 5-year, $94 million deal. Essentially what Washington said is, we've had this guy that's rewritten the record books, literally rewritten the record books in franchise history over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And he's younger. But gosh darn it, we're going to go with that 34-year-old.
It's true Alex Smith is older than Kirk Cousins. Alex Smith will be 34 by the time this season starts. Kirk Cousins will be 30 at the start of the 2018 NFL season. But look at everything else and how it adds up. First of all, they're virtually the same quarterback. Yards per attempt, 7.8 for Alex Smith, 7.5 for Kirk Cousins. Completion percentage, 67% for Alex Smith, 67% for Kirk Cousins. QBR, 62 for Alex Smith, 61 for Kirk Cousins. Age, yes, Alex Smith 34, Kirk Cousins 30 at the start of this season. The real differentiating factor to me, though, in the end, isn't their age. It's the price. It's the cost of having one of these guys on your roster. Alex Smith signed a $23 million annual average deal with the Washington Redskins. $71 million of it guaranteed. It will put him high up there. It's going to put him behind Matt Stafford, I think behind Andrew Luck. He'll be in a top 5 of highest paid quarterbacks. But you know who's going to be much higher than that in about 3 months? Kirk Cousins. If the Redskins had decided to keep Kirk Cousins by franchise tagging him, he'd be making $34 million next year. And by most accounts, when he signs a multi-year deal with somebody, it's going to be something like $90 million guaranteed. It's going to be $27 million a year. So here's the question. Do you want to pay full price? Do you want to pay $90 million for Kirk Cousins when you could have Alex Smith for $70 million? 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. This idea of price seems to be escaping everybody. Freddie Coleman was on air last night here. Big fan of Freddie Coleman. Great guy. News broke during Freddie's show, I think. This is what Freddie had to say when he heard about it.
You're trying to tell me, and nothing against Alex Smith, I still don't believe he can be a championship quarterback. If he proves me wrong, I'll be the first person to say that I'm going to be wrong about that. But you were unwilling to pay a guy in Kirk Cousins, where you had a 5-year, $40 million deal on the table that Scott McCloughan put out there, but the Redskins did not sign off on it. You would still have him as your quarterback a lot cheaper than Alex Smith. Ian, he's not even in the building 2 seconds. They not only gave him $23.5 million, but 4 years.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, Freddie, that the Redskins had made mistakes in the past when it came to Kirk Cousins. They could have locked him up for cheaper. But this is the cost of doing business today. And if the cost of doing business for Kirk Cousins is $90 million guaranteed, $27 million a year, and the cost for Alex Smith is somewhat 2/3 of that price, why wouldn't you go with Alex Smith? They're virtually the same. Cerruti, you're with me on this, right? These guys are indistinguishable.
Well, I'm Team Alex Smith no matter what, as we know.
By the way,
yeah, we
hold on a second.
We have to get into this.
Hold on. Are you still Team Alex Smith?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Even what he did to us yesterday?
Alex Smith was on the Will Cain show yesterday. We talked to him for a good 10 minutes. I asked him several times, hey, man, what's the future hold? What's the future hold? There's no two ways about this. Alex lied to us for 7 minutes. He knew this was coming down the line.
It was calculated, too, because he clearly wanted to do all of his hits and then have the news drop so he didn't have to deal with it. And he came on our show yesterday, said that he hadn't even thought about where he was going to go. We asked him, like, does he pay attention to teams? He was like, kind of, not really. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to end in Kansas City yet. And this deal was already done. It was already in the works. He must have already known when he taped that interview with us yesterday that he was going to be going to Washington.
He had to agree to this contract extension. That didn't happen in an hour.
Totally.
From agreement to a trade to Alex. He had no time. He knew it when he was talking to us. I have to tell you, it chaps me a little bit. I mean, I get it.
I forgive him.
Why? Because you're a big fan?
Because he's my guy.
Listen, I understand, like, you have to. You can't tell somebody the deal's coming down the line, but I don't know, like, telling the truth's kind of an important thing for me. You know? Like, don't lie to my face. It's sort of a big deal to me.
You would have wished that he would have broken the news on the show.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Hey, actually, you know what's funny? I just got off the phone with Dan Snyder, and I'm probably going to go to Washington. Crazy.
That would have been awesome. Hey, Alex, what do you, any chance I get you to answer any questions about your future? Yeah, and matter of fact, I'm going to be a Redskin. Was there something I could have asked? That's what I've rolled around in my head. Is there a way I could have asked that yesterday that might have gotten a hint?
We should have asked him what the last 5 numbers, like area codes, were in his phone that he just called. See if that gave us a hint.
We should have asked him what he thinks of the Redskins' nickname debate. That might have given us some insight into where he was going to play.
Miss on our part.
I guess some people just don't like saving money. I guess people just like burning it up. Actually, most of human behavior suggests that's exactly right. We like setting money on fire. All right, straight ahead. Why don't people like saving money? Why don't people like getting the same thing for cheaper? And apparently all Cleveland's problems, all the problems for the Cleveland Cavaliers will now go away because I've been listening for the last month, years. Kevin Love's hurt. That should solve all your problems, Cleveland, right? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
The Chiefs sending quarterback Alex Smith to the Redskins. Trade means the Redskins will part ways with free agent Kirk Cousins.
Washington gets Alex Smith and this can't be discounted, the ability to dig out from that Kirk Cousins contract and not have to worry about re-signing him. He now leaves.
The fact that it's going to save Daniel Snyder and the Redskins a little cash, what else is there to say?
It's a lateral move that they made to save some dough, and they won't know what to do with the dough.
All right, good. So we're admitting, we heard Max Kellerman there on First Take, admitting that the purpose is to lock in a quarterback at a reduced price, to lock in the virtually similar level of talent at less cost. It's Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. One of the people in life that I'm a big, big fan of, so I see any books, any good documentaries on this guy, I'm in. I watch, is Warren Buffett. You don't get to be a billionaire like Warren Buffett without knowing what you're talking about. And the way that he made his money is really one of the most favorite parts of the story for me. He's a value investor. You know, he's purposefully looking for cheap prices, undervalued stocks, places where other people have overlooked something special, because people chase the hype. They chase the sparkly thing. They chase the next big thing. Everyone wants the next big.com, Silicon Valley tech thing. And Buffett's like, I don't invest in things that I don't understand. But you know that newspaper over there? And nobody likes newspapers. Still throwing off a lot of cash. Well, Alex Smith is the value investment play here. Alex Smith gives you the same level of production as Kirk Cousins at a much reduced price. Now, if you don't want to get rich, if you want to chase hype, I get it. Do your thing. Go sign Kirk Cousins for $100 million guaranteed. But if you want to get rich, you might save some money. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Brian in Connecticut, you're on the Will Cain Show.
Hey, Will, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. What's up, Brian?
Hey, so I've been around this game a long, long time. I've coached it up to the college level, and I got to tell you, sometimes the value that you see might just be a personality thing. It might be a strong leader type aspect that they saw in Alex Smith. But the other reality that I mentioned in the screen is that there's an older adage than pay full price in our world. It's called something's worth whatever some sucker's willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
so
but what do you mean by that, Brian? I get the adage, but how do you apply it here? What do you mean?
Well, if you're going to buy the shiny value of Kirk Cousins, then more power to him. I think Washington probably got exactly what they were looking for out of this. And to your Warren Buffett analogy, maybe what they're thinking is, hey, we bought this stock, and simply by owning it, by having Alex Smith, we're going to make it more valuable.
All right, thanks for the call, Brian. You know, I remember before I was ever in sports, I lived up in Montana, and I was working on writing this book. And it was around that time that the Texas Rangers signed Alex Rodriguez for a record-setting $250 million at the time. And I remember writing this op-ed for the Missoulian in Montana, where it was like, he's worth it because somebody was willing to pay for it. It's not unlike what Brian was saying there, but I was wrong. You're not worth it just because somebody's willing to pay for it. All that means is somebody was willing to either be right or wrong on you at that price, and often wrong. You're worth some kind of objective value. And that's my point. Alex Smith is of similar worth to Kirk Cousins, but his price is way less.
Doesn't it only work for the person selling, too? Like, if you're selling Alex Smith and somebody's willing to pay whatever price, or you're willing to give him that money, it doesn't mean that he lives up to that value for you. It means that's what you're willing to pay for him.
Right.
Doesn't mean that he's going to recoup that.
What we're doing is dividing the idea of worth and price, right? You're not worth what you cost. Those are two different things. By the way, our friend Ryan Russillo, and you're going to be hanging out with Ryan later tonight, I saw he tweeted this. He said, say what you will about Alex Smith, and Cerruti, you and Russillo have had some knockdown dragouts about Alex Smith. He said, this is the second quarterback guru who's given up on Alex Smith. Jim Harbaugh moved from Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick, and Andy Reid has now moved on from Alex Smith to Pat Mahomes. My only rebuttal to that would be this. Another quarterback guru, Jay Gruden, has spent 3 or 4 years now with Kirk Cousins. I think he probably has a pretty good idea of who Kirk Cousins is and what he thinks Kirk Cousins is worth. So that decision was made with similar level of evidence and experience. We know who both of these guys are. One's just cheaper. I'll talk to Eric real quick in Virginia because you're a Redskin fan. What's up, Eric?
I don't want to take New show, brother.
Thank you, man.
And, huge Redskins fan. And really, I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, but first of all, I'm a Redskins fan first. And I think this is a great idea because I'm a fiscal conservative, and it seems like you are too. I agree with you. Usually I don't agree with you, but you're making great points today. And I think that with the money that we can save and the need for quarterbacks for the teams in the AFC, like the Jets, and all the other people that are looking for quarterbacks, that could push a defensive player like Raekwon Smith, for instance, from Georgia, up down to 13 that we could pick up because we were the worst in the league in rush defense this year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure any of those quarterbacks, were you looking for a replacement anyway, we're going to fall to 13. I mean, Baker Mayfield's flying up the draft boards. By the way, if we're both fiscal conservatives to some degree in these kind of things, how are you finding yourself disagreeing with me 99% of the time? Like, how'd you get on the wrong side of it?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just how you are, I suppose. But seriously,
look at Nuno's behind the glass going, see, told you, Will. You come off as a, say it, Nuno. What's the word?
You're still a pretty cool guy. And like I say, congrats on the show. But like I wanted to say, this is what I want to emphasize. I think that we've done a great thing by reducing the salary of a quarterback that is pretty much the same thing as Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, better. Exactly. But what we can do, well, that's going to be the problem. If our ignorant management for Washington can actually get their crap together and do the right thing with the extra money we got instead of just throwing it away like we usually do, then we might actually have a competitive team next year.
Well, all right. I appreciate the call, Eric. I hope you guys don't get your act together. But I think this is a first step in getting your act together. And I'll tell you this. The reason I say I hope you don't is because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. And I'll tell you right now today, Kirk Cousins was 1-6 against the Cowboys. I'm a little more afraid of what Alex Smith will be than what Kirk Cousins has been when competing against you guys in the division. All right, straight ahead, I want to talk to you about Kevin Love because it looks like the Cleveland Cavaliers, all their prayers have been answered. Their problems have been solved. Kevin Love is out for 6 to 8 weeks. I ought to solve everything, right, Cleveland? But first, Ryan Clark is Ryan in oh yeah, he's at the Super Bowl, Radio Row. Let's see what Ryan Clark thinks about this. Does he like buying things for on value? Based upon Ryan's fashion, I think he's paying full price. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. You guys remember how yesterday I was telling you that we had this big debate on First Take, right? About the Washington Redskins nickname, Chief Wahoo logo with the Cleveland Indians. And most of my rebuttals have been in the form of, catch these hands or shaking my head and, destroying me and those kind of harsh rebuttals. Well, there was one person who managed to put it all together, and apparently he's not a big fan of mine. And that is the Snoop D-O-double-G. It's Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's not a fan. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. He posted something on Instagram or Snapchat. I'm not sure. But let's see if we can get that audio. Let's see if we can grab it. I'm play it for everybody a little later. I think we can play it. It's got a lot. You're going to have to do a lot of beeping, Bubba. Snoop didn't like my take.
Yeah, I better leave now and get to work on it.
You better. You better. That's right. All right, so live from the Super Bowl, live from Minneapolis, ESPN NFL analyst Ryan Clark joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, what's up, brother? Just sitting around in my room listening to sirens go by the hotel.
All right.
Just hanging out.
Listen, you played with Kirk. You played, you know him. You know what kind of guy he is. Tell me, how is it? I've made the price argument, Ryan. Look, you're getting Alex Smith, which is on the field, virtually the same product, for a reduced price of what you're going to have to pay Kirk. But I just find it a little interesting that Jay Gruden spends 3 or 4 years with Kirk Cousins and decides I've seen enough. What kind of guy is he passing on?
Kirk's actually, if you took a guy, right, if you took a guy and you wanted to groom him to do a certain thing, Kirk Cousins has been groomed to be a starting NFL quarterback. The way he works, the way he presents himself, the type of things he says to the media. Kirk Cousins is a guy, just from a person standpoint, that you want to be the quarterback of your team. He's a guy that you can rally around. And then now if you go to the field, Kirk Cousins isn't a top-tier guy, but Kirk Cousins is a good starter. And I think the biggest problem is the Kirk Cousins type of money that he wanted. It was different than what the Redskins thought that he was worth, and I think that's where you have your huge impasse between the two parties.
And so when we started hearing things from, Gruden kind of started taking a less than positive approach on Kirk, at least in the media over the last, I don't know what we'll call it, last 2 or 3 months. He made some comments. And so when you see that and he moves on from Alex Smith, moves on to Alex Smith, are you saying the same thing I am? Well, that's just about price then? Or is it he doesn't see Kirk as his guy?
No, I think it's about price. I think you look at the price and what you can get for it. And obviously you have Alex who has a deal that you feel is friendly and fair to what you think he's worth on the field. And so you do it. I don't think Kirk is a transcendent talent. If he was a transcendent talent, then you go above and beyond to make sure you get a deal, make sure you get him locked in long term. But he's not. You know, we've seen other guys like Kirk. Kirk doesn't do the Aaron Rodgers or the Tom Brady type things. And I think if you feel like you can replace him and you have an opportunity to do so at a rate you're comfortable with, then you do it. I think Jay Gruden went that route, and it wasn't about Kirk not being productive. It was about making sure you get your guy at the right price.
Well, then where do you see him ending up? Where does he fit?
I think when you're a guy like Kirk, you fit anywhere, right? Kirk Cousins can be a good quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Kirk Cousins and the Jacksonville Jaguars would be a beautiful marriage. And I think so there's going to be a huge market for Kirk, but he has to figure out a place that he can go and flourish. You can't just focus on the money or the dollar sign. You need to get in a place where you have things around you that allow you to be successful, because I believe his numbers are going to be what they are. But I think if he gets in the right system, he can become a winning quarterback. He's not the quarterback that goes to your team and changes the trajectory of your franchise.
What do you do during Super Bowl week when you're not doing NFL Live? Do you go and hang out? You walk Radio Row? You go into parties? What are you doing tonight?
So I don't party. So I won't party. Hopefully I'll find
ever.
Not at the Super Bowl. Not at big events. I'm not a big event party guy. I'm kind of I rather just hang out with some people I know. You know, get something to eat, grab a beer. You know, type of guy. So I won't go to any party. I think Randy has something one night, a little dinner or something. So I'm going to do that.
Randy
but mostly, man, I just hang around the hotel. I went to the mall yesterday because, I felt like I'm in Minnesota. I got to go see the mall. So I did that, walked Radio Row for a little bit. And today I'll do my shows and get something to eat.
Wait, who has a party? Randy Moss?
Yes.
Okay. We're not all on a first-name basis with him like you, Ryan. You can't just throw Randy around.
Well, I think everybody knows Randy, though.
Randy White? Could have been Randy White, Dallas Cowboys.
Could have been. I'm pretty sure people knew I was talking about Randy Moss.
All right. Who's the best coach that you've ever played against? Not for. Played against. When you were on the field, you're like, that guy's got our number.
Oh, Bill Belichick. And it's not even close. It's not even a conversation. Each and every year, no matter how good we were as a team, no matter how good we were as a defense, they always had answers. And I think it helps when Tom Brady is your quarterback, but I think Bill Belichick does an amazing job of having his team prepared and have his team have a great understanding of the ways that you will attack them. And I think that's why they always have a chance to win, period. Whether it's Matt Castle, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, they always have a chance to win because of the way Bill Belichick prepares them to go into a game each week.
Well, that's my theory, Ryan. That's the one I've been leaning on when I picked the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, so you can tell me if you agree with this or not. But 2 weeks. 2 weeks is just too much. You give Bill Belichick 2 weeks to prepare for Nick Foles, whether or not he's the 2013 version or the 2017-18 version. 2 weeks for Bill Belichick is just too much time to adjust.
I agree. Bill Belichick has the Nick Saban type of touch, right? Anytime Nick comes into a huge first game of the season where he's had all off season to prepare, all training camp, you expect him to win. The semifinal of the college football playoffs, we expect him to win. I think Bill Belichick is the exact same way, but we've seen him lose twice. Though to the same team 2 times, we've seen him not come out on the good end of the Super Bowl. And so that's what the Philadelphia Eagles will be banking on, that they can be one of those teams to actually overcome and beat Bill Belichick when he has time to plan.
All right, man. Have fun at Randy's party.
Have a good one, brother.
All right, see. All right, so I told you Snoop's not a big fan. So we get that audio? Could you pull that from his Instagram?
We got it. Still working on the bleeps, though. I'm about halfway through.
How many bleeps in it's like a 20-second video, right? How many bleeps?
I think I've got 8, 9.
in 20 seconds.
Yeah, there's a lot.
He's
not a fan.
He's not a fan. All right, I'll play that straight ahead, and let's get to why the Cleveland Cavaliers may believe all their troubles are over because their scapegoat, Kevin Garnett, is out for 2 months. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Super Week 2018 on the Will Cain Show.
The Prophet's going to lock it in today. For now, it can feel like a little bit of the kiss of death to say, I think the New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. But I do. You give me the greatest football player of all time in Tom Brady. You give me the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. And you give me 2 weeks, I feel like you would be a moron to bet against New England Patriots.
Super Week 2018. Here's Will Cain.
Let me tell you how the story always goes. This is how it works. I say something, everybody yells, you're a moron, you're stupid, you're a troll, you're hot taking. A little time passes, and everybody goes, I think that guy might have been onto something. You know? What was it, Cerruti? 7 months ago that I said to Dana White, hey, have you asked Floyd Mayweather about fighting Conor in the octagon? And what was his response?
He said, you're that guy.
What guy?
That guy.
Which guy?
That guy.
You're that guy. And now what? Just last night, just yesterday, Floyd Mayweather posts a video. Did you see this? Of himself entering an octagon to train. Now you can say...
The Prophet.
Let me tell you something. There's probably a correlation. The more you yell idiot, the less time I need to be proven right.
Listen, you also said that Isaiah Thomas is better than Kyrie Irving, so let's not get your head too big yet.
I said that
okay,
season.
Well, now we're making now it's caveats. Okay.
No, pull the tape. I was right. He was an MVP candidate. Kyrie was not last year.
Okay. Take the L.
There's no L to take. By the way, the reason I bring that up is I told you a week ago the Cleveland Cavaliers are not going to represent the East in the NBA Finals. They will not win the East. Sun is sure shining my way on that one right now. I'm looking pretty good right now. We'll get to that in just a moment. But like I said, everybody likes to yell idiot, moron. I got a new fan who it came to my attention last night, posted a Instagram or Snapchat video, and he wanted to make a rebuttal, I think, to some of the arguments I'd made on First Take regarding the Redskins nickname and whatnot. So I present to you in his, it's not Socratic, whatever. Here's his debate rebuttal. Mr. Snoop Dogg. Take it away, Bubba.
You have it on your screen.
Oh, I've got it. Okay. Jeez. Where is he? What color is it? It's purple. Okay.
This need to be off the air. You a creep, man. You. Ride his out. Ride him out, Max.
I heard the same thing. I'm trying to remember where on this show about...
So dumb. They should kick your off the air, man. Weirdo. Stephen A., get rid of this mother right here. Devil. Out of here.
Oh, devil. I'm a devil at the end. It's rough. Whew.
I think we got them all, right?
Yeah, you got them all. I don't know how many it was. I don't know. We should figure it out. But I wrote down the mean words. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. I'm an MFer. And I'm a devil.
Seems like a bit much. I don't know. I mean, really?
I think he disagreed with me.
Yeah.
I think maybe. Okay. I think he didn't agree with whatever it was I was saying. How many bleeps was that? How long was the video? 23 seconds?
23, yeah.
All right. I don't know. I'm going to go. I felt like that. It felt like a lot. It felt mean. Okay. It felt like I'm going to put the over under at 10. How many, Nuno?
It was actually 12.
You counted it up? You did?
Yep.
Oh, wow. It's more than 10. Let's play it again. Let me see. Make sure you're right. 12 beeps? 12 cogent rebuttals to me? Go.
That's one every 2 seconds.
Here we go.
This need to be off the air. You a creep, man. You. Ride his out. Ride him out, Max.
I heard the same thing. I'm trying to remember where on this show.
5 so far.
So dumb. They should kick your off the air, man. Weirdo. Stephen A., get rid of this mother right here. Devil. Out of here.
I got 11, Nuno. I got 11.
Yeah, so I was wrong.
I didn't think he was going to make it. I felt like we were coming to the end, and he was like 3 or 4 short. He jammed a couple right there into the last 3 or 4 seconds.
Literally the last thing he said, too. He got one right out on the way out.
Boom roasted.
How do you feel? Like, are you hurt? Are you pumped? Like, at least Snoop's like worked up over stuff that you said. He knows who you are.
Well, I mean, we should talk about this a little later in the show. I want to get into this. I'll tell you this. I mean, you want the honest? You want the human side of it? Well, I mean, I was a Snoop fan. Like, Chronic album was pretty big in the old young Will Cain's life, you know, Dre and Snoop. So, Snoop hates me? Yeah, that's not my favorite thing in the world. I had to break that one to my wife last night, and she's like, shoot. But if you think that means I'm going to change the way I talk or the things I think, Snoop, you got another thing coming. You don't know me at all yet. We'll get into that a little later, maybe. All right. The Cavs aren't going to win the East. But if I'm to follow the logic of the Cleveland Cavaliers, your life should be getting better. Because for the past month, certainly, and for the past couple years, clearly, Kevin Love has been the source of your problems. Kevin Love is the reason the Cleveland Cavaliers have problems on the court. When the finger pointing goes all around the room, all the fingers end up pointing at Kevin Love. Well, guess what, Cavs? All your prayers have been answered. Your problems have been solved. Last night, against the Detroit Pistons, Kevin Love broke one of the, what do you call it, metatarsal? I don't know. His hand. The bone in his hand. Between the wrist and the finger bone. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. He won't be playing. So if that's been all your problems, guess what? You're not going to have him anymore. What I'm here to tell you is this shows me clearly that the Cleveland Cavaliers are not going to win the East this year. And most rebuttals when it comes to who the Cleveland Cavaliers are and why you should once again just count on them boil down to the simple two magical words of LeBron James. Right now, the Cavs are closer to the 8th seed than they are to the Toronto Raptors in the 2 seed. They're 5 games behind the Raptors in the 2 seed. I believe they're 4 games from being in 8th place in the Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference playoff race. You know, and for those, some seem to think, here it is, a non-displaced fracture in the 5th metacarpal of his left hand. Thank you, Dr. Cerruti. By the way, Dr. Cerruti, are you still hanging on to this is normal? It's all going to be okay?
This is definitely worse than the past, but I'm just sorry if I have to see it before I believe it, of the Celtics and Kyrie Irving beating LeBron in a playoff series. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it until I see it.
Hey, I'm here to tell you it's not just the Celtics. Right now, the Toronto Raptors have to be favorites over the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Speaking of happens every year, the Raptors have a good regular season every year, and they never make it anywhere in the playoffs. Same thing with the Wizards. All these East teams, I just don't trust any of them. And I don't trust Kyrie.
Right now, you have no rebuttal beyond it's the way it's always been on a Cleveland Cavalier team that no longer has Kyrie Irving. Now they have IT, and I've been a big fan of IT, as you pointed out earlier. But I recognize the need and role of chemistry and playing together and playing defense in a team winning a championship. And right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are far from that. Far from any type of semblance of a team. And you're going to take Kevin Love out of the picture for 2 months and give me 10 games for this team to reestablish itself?
That's cool. They don't like Kevin Love anyway.
That's the hole in my game, right? Apparently Kevin Love is gone. That solves all their problems. Watch it happen for them, too. Watch it. They lose their second All-Star and they start winning. You know that's going to happen. All right. Let's go to Minneapolis. Dhani Jones. It's the Will Cain Show. On ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, where should Kirk Cousins land?
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Where will Kirk Cousins land? Where should Kirk Cousins land? Where will he be playing quarterback next year? I'll tell you what I think. The Arizona Cardinals. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. If you go through a simple analysis of what adds up, what ingredients are there for any team looking to say, you know what, Kirk Cousins, that's what puts us over the top. I think it would go like this. Do you have a championship level defense? Do you have a top level defense? The Minnesota Vikings have that. The Jacksonville Jaguars have that. The Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals all have top level defenses. Not many people know the Cardinals had the 6th ranked defense in the NFL. How about this? Do you have a running game to supplement Kirk Cousins? All of those teams have that as well, and I would add to it, the Buffalo Bills have a top rushing attack in the NFL. So if you have the defense and you have the rushing attack, I have 1/3 component. Do you have a pick low in the first round of the NFL draft? Because if you have a pick high in the first round, you can and should, in my estimation, will use that pick on your quarterback of the future. That takes the Denver Broncos sitting at 5th out of the running in my mind. That takes the New York Jets sitting at 6th out of the running in my mind. That puts teams like the Jags, the Cardinals, and the Bills, and for that matter, the Vikings, in the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. And the Jags have the quarterback, at least for the next year. Blake Bortles is going to be there. The Vikings already have 3 Kirk Cousins. What do they need a 4th for? That's Max Kellerman's line. I stole it this morning from First Take. Leaving you the Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals. And it just seems to fit. Kirk Cousins in Arizona next year. That's my prediction. Hey, former Eagle linebacker and TV personality Dhani Jones is brought to us, and he's by Bank of America, and he's on the line. Dhani, what do you think? Where does Kirk Cousins make sense for you next year?
I like Arizona. That actually sounded pretty good. I was listening to your breakdown, and I had put it together in the way that you essentially assembled it. But as you kind of knock down the different teams and different personnel, I mean, you're right in terms of what they have here in Minnesota. They have a couple different options that they can go to, and then looking at Buffalo and what they've been able to do, and then also looking at Arizona and Carson Palmer now just retiring. I think Arizona does make sense. I think Cousins would actually like it out in Arizona, and they've got a bunch of offensive weapons that he can throw the ball to in a complementary running game that he could leverage to be more successful. Yeah,
could you imagine that you have David Johnson you could hand it off to? And I would think any quarterback would want to throw the ball to Larry Fitzgerald. Like, if you've got a year or two left of Larry Fitzgerald, I'd be pretty excited to sign up for that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, I think Larry would actually be able to teach him a little bit more about being a quarterback, because just as much as you have quarterbacks that are able to mentor wide receivers, when you got a guy like Fitzgerald being around for as long as he has, a guy like Cousins can learn a lot.
All right, I want to ask you 2 questions that kind of go back into the Dhani Jones, greatest hits playbook, okay? First, I've known who you are for quite some time because you had a television show that I thought was fascinating, which I think the title was Dhani Travels the World, right? Or something like that?
Dhani Tackles the Globe, yeah.
Dhani Tackles
the Globe. You know what?
Globe.
As many people that know this show, and as many people that love this show, why isn't my show on anymore? It's a good question, right? Yeah. I go through TSA security, and people are like, hey, man, how's your show? I jump on an airplane, and people sitting all over the plane. Hey, how's your show? I might go into your local restaurant. Hey, Dhani, I've been working at this restaurant for the last 15 years. Whatever happened to your show? I might go to a theme park. I might be at Disneyland. People are like, hey, Dhani, I love your show. I got 5-year-old kids saying, hey, my parents told me all about this show. Where is this show?
But what? The ratings didn't reflect it? Everybody's lying to you?
Either a bunch of people are lying to me or this show needs to be back on the air. I don't get it.
Well, I might be one of those people
lying to you.
It will go down
was it called an infamy? Is that the right word? It will go down in infamy as the greatest show of all time that a whole bunch of people saw that the network decided to cancel.
Well, I might be one of those people lying to you, by the way, because I didn't.
You're not lying to me. You wouldn't lie to me.
Here's the thing, Dhani.
You're a logical person. I was listening to your analysis of where Kirk Cousins should go, and I'm sitting here with a pen and paper, thinking I need to take these odds to Vegas and make some money.
You do. You need to just take it over there to Radio Row and just regurgitate it to the next guy.
I'm going to tell everybody who told me the truth.
No, the premise is awesome, man, and I saw clips on YouTube. That's where I saw it, and the idea was essentially you were going to be the Anthony Bourdain of sports, right?
Not going to be. I was. Okay, and I am still going to be. What do you think? I change all of a sudden?
You mean you're just going around the globe? Wait. You're just going around the globe playing cricket in India for fun, whether or not there's TV cameras there or not?
Oh, I love cricket. Cricket is actually my second favorite sport. My first is golf. Okay? And so my second is cricket. I love cricket. Now, I couldn't tell you any cricketers that are out there. I don't even know the names of the teams. I don't even know how big the field is. I do know how the game operates. But, and I know that it takes 5 days, and I like going to work every day, so I have no time to watch it. But I will tell you, it's my second favorite sport.
Your second favorite. Okay. First of all, let me reset it, Dhani. Let me do this. Let me pump you up. Now watch the verbs I use. I'm not going to use past tense. Dhani Jones is the Anthony Bourdain of sports, traveling the globe and trying different sports in various countries from different cultures.
I like it.
What was your favorite one? Well, no, I don't favorite. You just told me your second favorite was cricket. I don't care about your favorite.
No, what was my favorite sport?
No, craziest.
And tackling the globe?
No, just craziest. Which one? Which scenario did they put you into that was the craziest?
I mean, considering I had a multi-million-dollar contract on the Cincinnati Bengals, I think all of them are pretty crazy. I was probably the dumbest guy you probably knew at the time, too. So, I mean, most people would say that. However, I would I would refute that statement. Is that right? Saying refute that statement? I would reject that statement.
Okay.
And say that I actually had the best seasons I've ever had playing in the National Football League while I was tackling the globe and while I was playing different sports, risking life, limb, and my contract.
Okay, which one was the biggest risk? Which one put you at the most risk?
I mean, come on. I was doing Prado Saray in Cambodia, and the guy that competed right before me broke his orbital socket. And some people are going to be like, what is an orbital socket?
No, what is the sport? Orbital socket.
You know what an orbital socket is, right?
Yeah, your eye. Yeah.
Your eye, right?
Yeah.
So he got punched in the face, and they broke his face. That was the person I followed. The other guy that I competed against when I was in Russia, Sambo, I mean, the guy got stabbed like several times, like in the body. Like,
hold on, you got to tell me what these sports are. What are you doing? What kind of sport are you doing when you're stabbing
Google's
people?
For? I mean, I can't give people all the information. I got too much information to give you.
You come on.
I mean, golly,
you're on my show. You
let people
words
do
like
some research.
Sambo and telling me to Google
and Prado Saray and Muay Thai and swinging and things like that.
Swinging's different. I know that. That's sport. That's a different sport.
Oh, that's what you do?
No, I'm just familiar with that sport.
Oh, yeah. You're familiar with that sport? That's what you do in your spare time? Okay. All right, so Prado Saray is like Muay Thai in that it's kickboxing, right? Boom. Then you got swinging. You have to swish. Swinging, which is swish. You got it? Swish. Swinging.
Got it.
Right? That's kind of like sumo wrestling, except they're Swiss, and they're not, traditional Japanese sumo wrestlers. And then you got Sambo, and that's like
dancing.
No, it's not fancy. It's
dancing.
Dancing. No, it's not Sambo, like dancing, like it's not like that. It's more of wrestling, another type of wrestling, grappling, judo-esque type of force. I mean, the Russian, the Russian military utilizes it in order to hurt people.
All right. Thank you for that.
There's a lot of things I did out there that were really risky.
Thanks for making
even
me not
sailing.
Google.
Sailing was risky. You know what that is?
Sailing?
You ever heard of sailing?
No, tell me. I don't.
You don't need to Google that one.
I'll use Google on that one.
It's just sailing. It's all good.
Thanks for not making me Google.
I won't.
Your old coach, at the time, linebackers coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, when you were on the team, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. He said the Patriots cheated in the 2005 Super Bowl. Did they cheat?
How did they cheat? Because they knew something more than other people knew?
That's what your coach said.
Because they took a picture. You know how many people had cameras back then? People had cameras all over the place. I mean, but think about now. I've told people this, right? 2007 is when the iPhone came out. How many people, I'm at Radio Row, and everybody's got their phone out when there's somebody important that goes by. They're just like looking at different things. So say someone sourced some information. Is that cheating? No. So it's a moot point. When people have information, great, you're going to get it from anywhere else. It still comes down to pure athletic ability and whether you can win or whether you cannot win, right?
I agree.
And if you have more information than the next person, then you haven't done your homework and you don't deserve to win. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. But as I look at it, right, and Spags is a good friend of mine, as I look at it, it's like this. We lost. Boom. We only lost by 3 points, and you guys are making it seem like we lost by 50.
I'm not making anything, man. It's your coach
you're the one
that's
telling me.
You're the one. It's your coach that said they were cheating, Dhani.
Everybody on Radio Row is looking at us like we lost by like 1,000 points. It was 3 points. It's a field goal. Relax.
All right, listen, I got to go, but this has been fun, but I have to ask you this. What are you doing with Bank of America?
I'm trying to find a way to pay you that money back that you owe me.
Me?
Or that I owe you. I don't know. One of us owes somebody some money. But, yeah, so with Bank of America mobile banking app featuring Zelle, you can pay up or get paid. It's an easy way. It's quick. It's secure to take care of some of those IOUs that you might have because you want to make sure you have your friends again and your family again because a lot of people break up over money. Even just like under $100. Crazy, right?
Right. That's why people break up for under $100?
Yeah, exactly. Because people didn't pay something back. So, look, bankofamerica.com/Zelle. Take a look. More information found there.
All right, I'll check it out. This has been fun. Thanks, Dhani. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate it.
That's former Eagles linebacker and TV personality Dhani Jones, the Anthony Bourdain of sports, brought to us by Bank of America. All right, so straight ahead, let's talk about this Kirk Cousins thing. Where does it make the most sense for Kirk to land? Give me a call, 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
The Chiefs sending quarterback Alex Smith to the Redskins. Trade means the Redskins will part ways with free agent Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins wasn't going back. And so if you're the Redskins and you're trying to fill that void, I don't think you're going to do better than Alex Smith.
Alex Smith had a career year this year.
Patrick Mahomes' era starts in KC. Alex Smith era starts in Washington. And Kirk Cousins is going somewhere else. Maybe Jets, maybe the Broncos, maybe the Browns. We'll see.
Everybody's arguing in the control room. Everybody's got an opinion on where Kirk Cousins should land. Here's the bottom line. I don't think teams that have a top draft pick, I'll call it top 10, but most of the teams that are in contention for Kirk Cousins actually have a top 6 pick. If you're one of those teams, why would you go all in on Kirk Cousins? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The Cleveland Browns have a ton of cap room. They have over $100 million in cap room. But if you're the Cleveland Browns, you have to spend one of those top draft picks on one of your college prospects. You got to get Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, maybe Baker Mayfield. You have to begin to groom that decade-long quarterback. So why would you then also spend the kind of money it would take to bring in Kirk Cousins? And by the way, if you're Kirk Cousins, wouldn't you want to know what that team's future plans look like? You don't want to find yourself in the Alex Smith situation, the more extreme version of the Mike Glennon situation, where you sign a free agent deal, they draft your replacement, and you never really get the chance that you wanted. Now, I understand Kirk Cousins is going to have way more financial commitment behind him than Mike Glennon ever did. That means he's going to have way more leash than Mike Glennon ever did. But you'd like to think a month or two after they sign you, they're not already looking at your heir apparent. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. So for me, that means the Browns aren't really someplace that Kirk Cousins would want to look at signing. The Jets, also with north of $70 million in cap room and the 5th pick in the draft, not someplace that Kirk Cousins would look to end up landing. Even teams that seem to be just a quarterback away from contending, like the Denver Broncos, solid defense, but the 6th pick in the draft. And the Denver Broncos need to spend that capital. In my estimation, they need to spend it on getting this quarterback situation right. A young quarterback. And then your 2 dream scenarios. If you're Kirk Cousins, your 2 dream scenarios, well, that's Jacksonville and Minnesota. Top defense, 1 in Minnesota, 2 in Jacksonville. Top rushing attacks, 1 in Jacksonville, 7 in Minnesota. Well, their quarterback situations aren't exactly waiting for Kirk Cousins to walk through the door. Blake Bortles' contract gets guaranteed in early March if he's injured. If he's injured, it becomes automatically guaranteed. He just underwent surgery on his wrist. Blake Bortles looks like he's going to be around for $19 million next year for Jacksonville. And in Minnesota, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, and Case Keenum. Is it really worth the massive increase in contract to go from one of those 3 guys to Kirk Cousins? Is Kirk Cousins, that's back to our Alex Smith analogy. Why buy something full price when you can get virtually the same thing for a massively reduced price? Alex Smith is Kirk Cousins, marked down a third. Alex Smith's the same product as Kirk Cousins on the field. He costs 2/3 of what Kirk Cousins is going to end up costing. Steven in Tennessee, you're on the Will Cain Show.
Hey, Will, thanks for having me.
You bet.
So I heard you argue against Cleveland Browns and the other teams that are within the top 10 in picks, but I think of those teams, Cleveland is the only top 10 team that I think could have a strategy where Kirk Cousins makes a lot of sense for them. I'm not completely sold on the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the draft here as being true franchise quarterbacks at this point. So having a veteran come in like Kirk Cousins and using your 1st and 4th pick on Saquon Barkley and whoever you think is going to be the best defensive prospect, all of a sudden that Cleveland team is looking quite a bit better, like a potential contender for a wild card spot.
So the Cleveland Browns once again, are going to pass on a quarterback of the future in the draft? That's your scenario, Stephen? Once again, after Carson Wentz, after Deshaun Watson, given the first and fourth pick in the first round of the draft, will once again pass on a quarterback?
The only reason why I say that is because I don't think any of the quarterbacks available this year give them that franchise quarterback that they need. Whereas a veteran like Kirk Cousins helps the team a lot right now.
Thanks for the call, Stephen. I actually share some of your reservations about whether or not Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, or Baker Mayfield are your franchise-saving quarterbacks. But I don't have those reservations about Kirk Cousins because I know that he's not. He's not going to be your franchise-saving quarterback. Let's define who Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. He's an above-average quarterback. He's a quarterback a team can win with. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a quarterback you will win because of. So that scenario fits situations where you already have a good supporting cast, a good team around you, a team that is a above-average quarterback away from competing. That's not the New York Jets. That's not the Cleveland Browns. That is the Arizona Cardinals. That is the Buffalo Bills. 6th rated rushing attack, by the way. Not as good on defense, but I have a feeling the Bills' defense is going to be heading the right way, right direction. That's where it makes sense to me, where Kirk Cousins steps in, and being above average is good enough for that existing team to win, to get into the playoffs, maybe in advance in the playoffs in the AFC. I just don't see him being worth that investment in a place like Cleveland or New York. What does Kirk Cousins give a below-average roster?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that at all. I don't think it makes sense because if your team's not ready to win, it's not like if this was like in his prime, Drew Brees or somebody, which those guys never go on the market, but if this was like a transcendent type quarterback who was available and you have an average roster, yeah, sure, why not? Because he could probably get you the playoffs by himself. But Kirk Cousins isn't doing that. You need the pieces around him. And if you're a team that needs help and doesn't have a running game or weapons to help him out, what's the point in wasting all that money on Kirk Cousins because he's not going to get you there by himself?
I think the Cardinals have the 15th pick this year. They were 8-8. And I think the Buffalo Bills have the 21st pick.
By the way, we
what?
talked about drafting a quarterback, signing Kirk Cousins and drafting a quarterback, drafting his heir apparent.
Uh-huh.
That's going to happen again to Alex Smith. Like the Redskins are going to take a quarterback, and we're going to do this whole thing again.
With the 13th pick?
Maybe not with the 13th pick, but they're going to take one in the future, and then we're going to do this whole Alex Smith thing all over again in a year or two.
The Alex Smith story.
I guarantee it.
You get
Calling
2
it now.
years. You get 2 years while your heir apparent looks greedily over your shoulder.
Nobody trusts him.
By the way, speaking of stories that repeat themselves over and over, we just know how this Kevin Love story is going to end, right? We know what's going to happen this season. We know how it's going to play out and how it's all going to end up being Kevin Love's fault again. I'll lay out the Kevin Love story for you because it's so obvious what's going to happen. Straight ahead on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is going to come as a shock, but I think Stephen A. Smith is wrong about this one. I mean, on the surface, you would think this is perfect for Kevin Love. Kevin Love, he finally gets to get away from the nonsense. Kevin Love, he can't be your problem if he's out for 2 months. You can't blame everything on old Kev. Old Kev's gone, so who's going to be your scapegoat, Cleveland? Cleveland Cavaliers don't have him around to point fingers at anymore. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Stephen A. Smith today on his radio show, the Stephen A. Smith Show, said, good for Kevin. Listen.
If I'm Kevin Love, this is heaven. This is heaven. I can't admit it, of course. I got to lie about it. I got to lament the fact that, you know what, I'm hurt even though I got guaranteed dollars. I've got a contract that's in the 9 figures, and I don't have to be around all of these dudes for the next few weeks if I really, really don't want to, because now I'm legitimately hurt. They can't question the legitimacy of my injury, and I get the hell home and stay the hell away from all of these guys with all of this drama.
That was actually Stephen A. on First Take, not on his radio show. All right, yeah, on the surface, wouldn't you love to get away from that? Wouldn't Kevin love? By the way, apparently earlier I called Kevin Love Kevin Garnett. It's so weird. Trust me, on social media, I was made aware of my misstatement. It's so weird that happens sometimes. I didn't even hear myself. There's a different name comes out.
None of us did.
No one heard
assumed it. Listen, they could probably use Kevin Garnett right now.
They could probably use Kevin Garnett in Cleveland. For sure they could use Kevin Garnett. Does Kevin Garnett step into that situation and get minutes right now?
Yes, but I don't know what the benefit would be for Kevin Garnett. I don't know.
No, why would you want to go deal with that nonsense?
I wouldn't want. Yeah, I'm out. I'm good.
How many minutes a night would Kevin Garnett get right now, fresh off of KG Area 21?
I bet you he gets 20.
I bet you he gets 15 at least. Yes.
Now, if it was, hey KG, you want to play on the Warriors right now? Then I'd think about it because you're gonna get a ring. You're probably not gonna play that many minutes. You're gonna look good.
Yeah, I don't know how many minutes he gets on the Warriors though.
He'd get minutes.
Kevin Love. All right. Yes, it would be nice to get away from all this, but this is how the Kevin Love story is going to go. He's going to be out for the next 2 months. What's going to happen is this. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to start playing better. Why? Because they can't play worse. They've been awful. Isaiah Thomas cannot get integrated into that team. He's being criticized for his shot selection. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of open shots now, or available shots. Kevin Love isn't there to compete with for shots. IT is going to find his game over this time. The Cavs will play better because, again, what are they over their last 10 games? 3-7? Something like that? You can't be much worse. Kevin Love will come back with about 10 games to go in the regular season, and at that point, the Cavs have to figure it all out again. How do we reintegrate Kevin in once again? And although he objectively makes them better, he's the only other All-Star on the team besides LeBron, it's going to go south again. They're going to have chemistry issues all over again. And guess whose fault that's going to be? It's going to be Kevin Love's again. You can see the way this story is going to play out right now, and it's all going to end up Kevin Love's fault again. LeBron James right now, by the way, we're not on ESPN News, or we might be back on, looks like we just got back on ESPN News, because we took the Detroit Pistons Blake Griffin press conference live, and LeBron James has been paying attention, by the way. He's been paying attention to Blake Griffin getting traded out of L.A., and he said, it's funny. It's funny how when you get traded away, it's different than when you leave as a free agent. Listen.
A little bit of shock when I first saw it, but it's another business. As unfortunate as it looks, the business, so it is what it is. Yeah, when a player gets traded, they was doing what's best for the franchise, but when a player decides to leave, he's not loyal, he's a snake, he's not committed. That's the narrative of how it goes, so I know that firsthand.
But why is that a problem? Why is that a double standard? That's exactly how it should go.
You shouldn't expect your employer to be as equally as loyal to you as you are to them?
Loyalty is a funny concept. We're not talking about these guys getting fired, by the way. In the vast majority of situations, the one he's referencing with Blake Griffin, we're talking about a trade. And I think what he's talking about mostly is fan reaction to these two different kinds of scenarios. And the bottom line is, and I'm not going to speak for every fan, but for most fans, we root for teams. We root for cities. We don't root for individuals. We become fans of individuals, certainly when they represent our team. Very rarely does that fandom follow that person to a new team. So the point is, when a player voluntarily leaves our side to go to someone else's side, it feels like betrayal. But if the team trades a player away, the idea is they're making the team better, the thing we're all invested in.
But you don't understand why players would be mad about that?
Mad about what?
That if they actively leave, if they wanted to go play somewhere else, that the fans are going to get all upset with them. But when they say, like, Blake Griffin signs a new 5-year contract and then they ship him off the year after, you don't understand why someone like Blake would be mad about that?
Mad at who?
At the fans, at the Clippers, and for not having, why doesn't the team have loyalty in Blake Griffin?
Well, first of all,
you're calling out loyalty for why Blake wanted to re-sign there, for instance, but if the team wants to ship him out, it's totally okay, then loyalty doesn't matter.
Let's take these one at a time. When the player leaves the team in free agency, the fan has a very rational response of being upset with the player, of feeling like you just betrayed us, you sold us out. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when the player gets traded away, who are we going to talk about here? The fan? Is the fan supposed to look at that and go, I'm mad at management for betraying that player? That's what you're saying? The fan should feel the same way towards management?
I understand why the player would think, hey, this is kind of BS. Like, you just shipped me off. Like I didn't care.
You can say that there wasn't equal loyalty given between management and labor, but you can't say that the fans are being inconsistent here. You can say that, I chose to be loyal to you. If what LeBron is mad about, by the way, what LeBron's really doing is paving his way to leave Cleveland once again. That's what this is about. This is about you're all going to be mad at me in a few months when I leave Cleveland again. But if what LeBron is complaining about is Dan Gilbert's letter the last time he left and feeling like you're saying I betrayed you management, but you don't give me the same loyalty to management. If it's all about in relation to management, I understand that. I understand loyalty is a one-way street. I'm supposed to keep resigning here, but you could trade me at any moment. I get that. But if it's about how fans view this, fans are dedicated to teams. We're dedicated to you only so long as you help our team. Am I getting this wrong? No. Come on.
No, I think you're right. I'm looking at it from the front office perspective, right? Like, yes, I would be mad that if the front office didn't show me loyalty, but I wanted to leave, that there would be that would be perceived differently by fans. Correct?
888-729-3776. Is this I don't know, what is this? Not a two-way street? It's a double standard? That's what LeBron seems to think. The Will Cain Show is reminding you that you can listen to all 3 hours of the show on your phone or on the ESPN app. All right, straight ahead, Seth Wickersham wrote the explosive investigative story about the cracks in New England. Brady, Belichick, Kraft. What have we learned since? Has Seth's story been validated? He's going to join us next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. What do you think, Kevin Winter? There's something a little more now to that report that he put out just a few short weeks ago, that there's cracks in the foundation of New England. You want to stay away from that, Mike? He doesn't have his. I don't think he's listening. He's just sitting there. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. He's going to miss his opportunity. Here he goes. Watch this. Been talking about you. Just put your ears on. That's right.
Otto was told. They said Will's trying to talk to you if you want.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
Yeah. Do you believe the report about the cracks in the foundation of New England now?
No.
You don't?
No.
You want to debate Seth Wickersham?
Sure.
I don't want you to.
I know exactly. That's why I said okay.
So let's kick Winter out, bring Wickersham in. All right? ESPN The Magazine, Seth Wickersham on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line live from Minneapolis. What's up, Seth?
Hey, how are you guys?
I'm good. Kevin Winter in the SportsCenter update. He's not good. He doesn't like your report, Seth. He doesn't like the idea that there's cracks in the foundation of New England. He doesn't want to believe any of it.
All right. Well, it's his right.
I think you've been a little bit vindicated over the last couple of weeks, don't you think? Don't you think there's been a little more evidence since you wrote that article for ESPN The Magazine that shows not all is well with the Patriots?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I think that, look, the truth always comes out in these situations, and I think you started out with the Patriots' official response. Remember, they wouldn't deny anything to me on the record. But their initial response was that everything is great and that it's continued to be great and it's been great for 18 years. And then, pretty soon there was another report that they were going to meet after, that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are going to meet to clear the air over tensions surrounding the Garoppolo trade and about Alex Guerrero. And then you've seen Robert Kraft give interviews where he says that the coach and the quarterback need to check their egos and come together. And so, remember, all this stuff is coming on during the playoffs, no less. So, yeah, I mean, I was confident in what I wrote then, and I'm confident how it's held up.
How serious is it, Seth? I mean, when people read this, they want to know, well, what does this project about the future in New England? I had, who was it, Cerruti? Tom Curran on, who said the whole thing in New England has a end of the party feel to it. And that's coming, again, from New England. He said to me specifically, Seth, I'm talking about 2019. I'm talking about a year down the road, he could see these three characters no longer being together. How do you feel like all of this projects?
Yeah, I mean, Tom's a great reporter with excellent sources, and I mean, he knows that team. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think that, I think that there's going to be some things that happen after the season in terms of coaching changes and openings there that might have some influence on it. But I honestly, I don't know how it projects going forward.
What do you mean those might have some influence on it? How would those coaching changes?
I don't know how many people. I don't know if there's going to, clearly Josh McDaniels is going to go. There's the question if Joe Judge, the special teams coach, goes with him. Do some of the other coaches on the staff want to work for a new offensive coordinator? I think there are those types of questions that are coming up right now. And, I don't know how they're going to be answered. And I don't know how they are going to influence, for instance, like Coach Belichick's decision on his future. But I think that, again, talking to people in the building, I mean, nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. But I think that Tom Curran's insight is accurate, and I think that there are some who think that it could even begin sooner after the Super Bowl, but nobody knows for sure.
What's the feeling you're getting from the team this week? I mean, you've covered these guys before. You've been at ESPN for a while. Is this any different than any of the other Super Bowls they've been in? How they've prepped the week before, their attitudes towards each other?
I mean, I think no. I think that, like, you know, they are all business. They really are. And I mean, I think that, like, there were certainly a lot of tensions during the season, but I never said that it was going to prevent them from winning. In fact, in the story, I actually used it as an example of why it was remarkable that they'd kept this together so long and continued to win so long. And so, you know, is this week anything different? I'm not quite sure. I think that they're all business, and I think that they're ruthlessly focused on this game.
What's the biggest revelation you've had since you put this piece together in ESPN the magazine? What's the biggest added piece of information that we should know?
I don't know. Otherwise, I probably would have reported it. You know, I just think that, you know, again, the tensions were real. And I think that, you know, my goal with the story is, all of them are, just to bring fans as close as they possibly can to the teams that they care about and give them an inside glimpse of what's going on. I mean, I worked so hard on that story, 2 months on it. I bet you that I captured 1% of some of the things that have gone on. I mean, it's been a trying season, to say the least, and I think that's why Robert Kraft has admitted that there are tensions in the building that need to get resolved after the season.
All right, man. Thanks for your time, Seth.
Great to be with you, man.
It's ESPN the magazine, Seth Wickersham on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You know, thinking about this Wickersham piece and the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, and you combine that now with the Alex Smith trade, one of the things I think you get to have is a picture of the quarterback market. Jimmy Garoppolo got a second-round pick from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, could they have gotten more from them in New England? It sounds like it. It sounds like the Cleveland Browns were willing to give more for Garoppolo, but Belichick didn't want to send him there. Alex Smith is traded for a third and a pretty well-regarded cornerback in Kendall Fuller. The first time Alex Smith was traded, he commanded 2 seconds. 2 second-round picks. Jacoby Brissett, traded from New England for Philip Dorsett, a first-round wide receiver, but one who wasn't panning out at the time he was traded. So this led me, what's Joe Flacco worth? Joe Flacco's on the trade block right now. You've got 3 or 4 pieces of information that tells you what the quarterback market looks like. If the Baltimore Ravens put Joe Flacco on the market right now, what's he worth? You don't give a first for Joe Flacco, right?
Does he get more than Alex Smith?
A third
and a starting
and a player. I would say Joe Flacco is worth right about the same as Alex Smith.
He's 33. I actually think he's worth
Flacco's
less.
33?
He's 33. I think he's worth less.
Yeah, he sneaky got old on us.
He had a terrible season.
Yeah.
Bottom third in QBR. Pass.
What's Jameis Winston worth? Mike Sando wrote the report, and he put Tampa Bay on one of the potential destinations for Kirk Cousins. So let me ask you this. What's Jameis Winston worth? You sure it's a first-round pick? You sure? We'll answer that question straight ahead. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast. This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
All right, let's say I take you down to the car lot, walk you around the Ford dealership, and I say, over here, you got the most popular car in America, the most common car in America, solid vehicle, one that you can count on for the next decade. It's the Ford F-150. And on this one right here, I'm going to sell this Ford F-150 to you for full ticket. All right? Whatever they're going for today. $45,000 for this nice Ford 150 right here. Over here on this side of the lot, I got another Ford F-150. All the same bells and whistles, same exact product, maybe a few minor differences in the paint scheme, surface level stuff. But on this F-150 over here, I'm going to give you this one for a third off. You can have this one over here for $30,000. What fool takes the full price ticket one? What fool goes for the $45,000 F-150? not the Washington Redskins. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The analogy that I've used today is, are you into value? Are you into saving money? Are you the Warren Buffett of football? Warren Buffett became a billionaire by finding value in places other people overlooked. While the crowd chased the hype, while the crowd chased the next big thing, Buffett was buying yesterday's big thing because yesterday's big thing was still throwing off profit. You like .coms, he liked newspapers. You like the self-driving car, he likes trains. There's value in finding cheap, underpriced assets that other people have overlooked. Alex Smith and Kirk Cousins are virtually the same product. They're virtually the same quarterback. Alex Smith, 7.8 yards per attempt. Kirk Cousins, 7.5 yards per attempt. Alex Smith, 67% completion percentage. Kirk Cousins, 67% completion percentage. Alex Smith, what is it, 62 QBR? Kirk Cousins, 61 in QBR. They're virtually the same. You can find some minor differences, but you've seen who they are on the field. You have seen their ceiling when surrounded by good talent. You know what you're getting. And Alex Smith is coming to the Washington Redskins at a third of the price of Kirk Cousins. $23 million a year, $71 million guaranteed, is going to be about a third less than the $90+ million guaranteed you're going to have to give Kirk Cousins. Why would you pay full price? You just like it? You're into it? I said this earlier in the show. I was flipping through the other day this book I wanted to buy called The 48 Laws of Power. And there is a theory, by the way, that when given the choice, you should buy things full price instead of at the discount. Because the discount comes with obligation. The discount comes with feeling like you owe the seller something. You got away with it. He did you a good deal. I'll get you on the flip side. Pay full price and you retain power. But this is about getting rich. This isn't about power. And getting rich in football is finding underpriced assets that can perform virtually the same for you. Alex Smith is the underpriced asset as compared to Kirk Cousins. I know, Cerruti, you agree with me on this.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, I think Alex Smith is, as you know, I think he's super underrated. I know our next guest does not believe that, Andy Benoit, but I think this is great.
Yeah, that's the reason I went to you. Is like, we're kind of alone in this to some extent. I can play you audio right now from, I don't know, from Trey Wingo, from Freddie Coleman, from numerous people say they just don't get it. They don't get it. But why do I need to do that? Because I've got Andy Benoit, NFL analyst and staff writer for Sports Illustrated's The Monday Morning Quarterback, who also doesn't like this deal. You don't get it, Andy. You don't like it?
I don't love it. I think the money factor and everything you're talking about is very relevant and needs to be at the forefront of the conversation. Well, it needs to be, I guess, next to the forefront. At the forefront, in my opinion, within the context of how Washington plays in Jay Gruden's system, I see Alex Smith as a substantial downgrade from Cousins. I think they're in the same class of QBs, and everything you said, Will, I totally agree with. We know what they are. You plug them in. They're plug-in type of quarterback, system QBs, if you will. It's different types of systems, though, and the stuff that Smith was asked to do in Kansas City is going to be very different than what Gruden asks him to do. And I think around November, Gruden's going to be pulling his hair out on this one.
Okay. Let me push back a little bit. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Gruden knows what Cousins is. We know that at this point, right? He's got all the evidence on Cousins. He's not dealing with any unknown cards when it comes to Kirk Cousins. And he has decided, I'd rather go somewhere else. I would have to think, Andy, that Gruden's looked at all the same tape you have. I mean, you have. The things that you're saying, and I've been on your Twitter feed, you're saying Alex doesn't throw it downfield as much as Kirk Cousins. Alex is maybe not quite as accurate in tight throws as Kirk Cousins. In some of these things, not that one, but the more not throwing it downfield, those have become popularized. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that about Alex.
Yeah.
So Jay Gruden knows that about Alex. So he has to be making this choice with wide open eyes.
Yes, absolutely. Jay Gruden knows he knows Kirk Cousins better than all of us, obviously, and I'm sure he knows Alex Smith better than all of us.
My sense is this was probably a largely front office driven decision. The money here, again, cannot be overlooked. And your point about what they'd have to pay Cousins, they decided we're not doing that. And so their option isn't, well, do we want Smith or Cousins? It's do we want Smith or the unknown? And that changes the discussion, certainly. Mm-hmm. I think what gives me real pause, because at the end of this, Will, all of it comes down to what do these guys do on the field, and can they run what the coach wants them to run? And maybe Gruden's out of there after this season if it doesn't go well. But, let's just go one step at a time. Gruden's going to run his system. He needs Alex Smith to run it. And in Gruden's scheme, there are a lot more anticipation throws and timing throws than what Alex Smith was asked to do in Kansas City. Kansas City had pretty defined open reads for him, and he threw to delayed windows, if you will, where there were multiple options sitting open on the play. I mean, there's obviously timing and rhythm throws in every system, but Gruden, in order to run everything he's run, you're going to have to throw with anticipation and cut it loose. And Cousins, for some of his limitations, he was always willing to do them. That had plus and minus results. The longer he played under Gruden, the more plus the results became, but it wasn't enough in their mind. Smith has never been that kind of player, though. He's not a trigger puller unless the read is clearly wide open, defined in his eye. And wide open, we mean it's obvious I'm throwing here. The guy doesn't have to be uncovered, but it's got to be a very defined read for Smith. In Gruden's system, the reads are a little bit less defined. The quarterback has to be a little more aggressive. And if that QB is not aggressive, I think Jay Gruden's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with that. I think it's going to frustrate him very, very quickly.
Real quick, is Kirk Cousins going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL in a matter of months?
Oh, that's a great question. He will, maybe for a little bit. The Aaron Rodgers deal, we hear that's getting reworked. That'll change the discussion. Almost always the highest paid QB, because the position is so valuable and the market goes up and the salary cap's getting bigger right now. Almost always whoever signed their contract most recently is the highest paid QB.
Okay, who will make Kirk Cousins the highest paid quarterback in the NFL?
I think Denver, it would make a lot of sense. And the question becomes, if you're John Elway, you've got a defense that you believe is still Super Bowl caliber, and it probably is for one or two more seasons, maybe two or three. You've got decent weapons offensively. You need some upgrades, but it's an adequate offense. And do you really want to draft a QB and hope to get it right after you just, and probably in your mind, got it wrong, or at least aren't ready to be patient with the Paxton Lynch decision? Do you want to go through that again and roll the dice, or do you want to take the known entity? I could see Elway making the move for Cousins. The question is Elway willing to break the bank for Kirk Cousins? Because he also knows what Cousins is.
All right, it's Andy Benoit of the Monday Morning Quarterback. Appreciate your time today, Andy.
Thanks, Will.
All right, you can tweet the show through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Will Cain Show. I'm personally at Will Cain. 1-800-Flowers.com has the Valentine's gifts you'll love. Right now, you can get 12 multicolored roses for only $19.99, or doubled up to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. If you think about it, what Andy Benoit was just talking about, John Elway's, I don't think this is an overstatement. More than John Elway's reputation is riding on this decision. He has fumbled this quarterback situation for a couple years in a row. And right now, he's basically got to choose whether or not to invest about $100 million in Kirk Cousins or a sixth pick in the draft in, say, Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield. The outcome of that decision, whatever it may be, will dictate John Elway's future. All right, James Harden went off last night. He's the MVP guy right now, right? He's number one. And I'm a big fan of both he and Trae Young, and I want to tell you why they're so similar, what it is about both of them that I love. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. ADT, the +1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
Think about the decision on John Elway's plate. You're either going to give $100 million to Kirk Cousins, or you're rolling the dice again in the draft with the number 6 pick and banking your future on Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. This is not your every year decision for John Elway. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I mean, John Elway's future is riding on this decision right here. And the fact that the Broncos are reportedly willing to trade and looking for trade offers for cornerback Aqib Talib, that has to tell us something about what the Broncos think of their window, what the Broncos think about their time to win the Super Bowl. I mean, if Elway decides to go the route of Kirk Cousins, what he has done, as Andy Benoit from the Monday Morning Quarterback just pointed out, is he's gone with essentially the devil you know argument. He's gone the perhaps my ceiling is lower, but my risk is lower as well path to go with Kirk Cousins. If he goes into the draft with the 6th pick, he runs the high risk again of, well, honestly, recreating the Paxton Lynch fiasco of swing and a miss, a big whiff on a quarterback. But on the other hand, if, say, Baker Mayfield is the next coming of Drew Brees, he hits it over the fence. Either way, the future of the Denver Broncos, or better yet, the future of John Elway and his reputation as a GM rides on this decision.
I look at it this way. The Broncos in the Super Bowl, the next chance that they get to the Super Bowl is probably going to be more likely if they draft someone versus signing Kirk Cousins, right? Because do you think that Kirk Cousins adding to that Broncos team right now is Super Bowl caliber? I don't know. I mean, I know their defense is good. They're aging. As Andy said, the weapons, I don't know. They don't really have a run game. Offensive line's kind of a mess.
I don't believe in the cast around him in Denver as much as I do in, say, Jacksonville, or were it Minnesota that decided to go in on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. I'm not saying Minnesota should. I'm saying if they did. If he goes to Minnesota, he gets that defense plus the 7th-rated running attack in the NFL without Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook comes back next year.
So signing Kirk Cousins is the safe. I look at it as the safe play. It's not going to get John Elway in any hot water. The team's probably going to be better next year. They'll be competitive. But if he goes and he drafts someone, there's a more likelihood that they will get somebody who can actually change their franchise.
Okay, there's two ways to look at it. That's not who John Elway is, though, right? John Elway was never the what's the safe play guy. John Elway's never been the let me try the least risky road. John Elway was a gambler, home run hitter. John Elway would, if you follow that analysis, would be drafting Baker Mayfield with the 6th pick in the draft. But on the other hand, John Elway was the guy that took Peyton Manning at age, 37, 38, and said, I just have to put a strong defense and some weapons around him, and all he has to do is not lose the game for us. And that won him a Super Bowl. He's had success one way. His nature seems to lead you the other. It's difficult to picture Kirk Cousins in Denver.
I don't look at them as a serious contender, even if they get him. Kirk Cousins isn't the kind of guy that's going to carry you there, and they need a lot more help than they did a couple years ago with that Peyton Manning team.
I picture Kirk Cousins in Arizona. That's the team where they have the defense, they have the running game, they have the weapons. They also don't have a top draft pick sitting there having to debate about whether or not we should draft the heir apparent or spend $100 million on the safe play that might put us into contention right now. The Arizona Cardinals, and my second choice is the Buffalo Bills, fit the recipe of where it makes sense for Kirk Cousins. Both of those, I'm not saying are a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl, not an above-average quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl, but an above-average quarterback away from being a playoff team. That's the kind of scenario you put him into. Not the Browns, where you are multiple players and things away. Same for the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Bills. Last night, James Harden went off for 60 points in a triple-double. I believe it's the only time that's ever been done. Someone scored a triple-double, registered Kevin Winter's giving me a big thumbs up. Registered a triple-double while scoring 60 points. And the Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. At the same time, Cerruti, you took note of Trae Young playing for Oklahoma last night, where you noticed what?
Dude was unreal. I thought that was more impressive than James Harden's game. I'm a Magic fan.
That's a hot take.
I'm a Magic fan, so I watched a good amount of that game too. That Magic team's a disaster. So congrats, you got 60 in a triple-double against maybe the worst team in the league right now. Trae Young is ridiculous.
I'm telling you. I've been trying to tell you. Everybody thought it was a hot take what I said last week. Trae Young on the court in the Cavs-Spurs game would have been about the 4th, 5th best player in that game.
See that I can't go down that road with you. I can't do that yet. And I was looking at draft profiles last night, and he's like in the top like 7 or 8 as for like, the big boards of the NBA draft. I was surprised that he wasn't higher.
Well, he came out of nowhere, man. The guys at the top of the draft board are guys that wooed and wowed everybody with McDonald's All-American games and in high school games. Trae Young wasn't that guy. I mean, he was a big-time recruit, but he wasn't Marvin Bagley. He wasn't Michael Porter. He wasn't, honestly, Mo Bamba either. So we're building all of the Trae Young evidence, the Trae Young file, off of what he's doing in college. And people are reluctant to look at college performance when they can look at combine-style on-paper measurables and project. That's what we like to do. But let me tell you this. This is the reason I bring up both James Harden and Trae Young at the same time. I love both of these guys' games, and I see a similarity. They don't play the game the same way. But what I see is two players whose game is built from the ground up. All right? I think the easy thing to do in sports is celebrate the guy who's just physically dominant. Gronkowski is physically dominant. He was born to dominate in football. I'm not saying he hasn't put in hard work and tried to figure it out and look at ways to make himself better, but he was born to play tight end, maybe defensive end in an alternate life. Giannis was born to drive to the hoop. He's an amazing, jaw-dropping athlete. LeBron as well. When I see James Harden and I see Trae Young, you don't look at two people who go, you know what? From age 7, you could tell that's going to be one of the best basketball players on the planet. That's going to be an MVP level player in James Harden. In fact, no one thought that about Harden. It was sixth man. It was expendable asset in Oklahoma City. It was never MVP candidate. And look at the way he's built it. He's honestly not the most athletic guy on the court. It's jab step left, jab step right. Find myself a little space to the side with a sidestep shuffle. It's use my body in odd ways. Now, granted, he's a lefty, by the way, and that throws people off and creates space in weird ways. But every time you watch James Harden, you're like, how did he do that? How did he get that space? That didn't look right. That didn't look the way I'm used to seeing it. And I love that, man. That is building it, innovating it yourself. It's the kind of thing that can inspire someone else who might not have it to be creative in ways to get it. And Trae Young, similar. Trae Young is building his game, honestly, in the mode of Steph Curry. I'm not saying other guys don't work hard. I'm not saying these guys don't have natural talents. It's just when I see the two, the one that inspires me just a little bit more is the one where you're like, that took some innovation and creativity to create a game that wasn't readily there for you.
Because it's more attainable for guys like us.
Maybe that's what it is.
6'5".
Yeah.
250.
Maybe because it's easier to lie to yourself. Hey, maybe if I go to the gym and emulate James Harden, I can find a little extra space. When you know you can't be Giannis.
And Harden's like not ripped. He's a little doughy, let's be honest. Like he's like an everyman, And he's out there tearing it up.
You can't be Harden either. But at least you can pretend easier. I know I'm not going to be LeBron. And by the way, everybody thinks they can be Trae Young. Everybody thinks they can be Steph Curry, right?
I had a buddy remember the old rumor about J.J. Redick? He was like, hey, I grew up with a gravel driveway, so I couldn't dribble, so that's why I'm so good at shooting.
Yeah.
My buddy had a gravel driveway, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm basically J.J. Redick because I only shoot in my gravel driveway.
And there's dads everywhere.
Like, that's not really how it works, dude. Sorry.
Dads everywhere ripping up their concrete driveways, putting gravel in so that their sons can only shoot. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. All right, straight ahead. This is not an overstatement. None of this. I'm going to read it exactly like this because I'd say every adjective you use and verb is perfect. One of the best rappers of all time, hates me. And I'll play the audio. That's straight ahead. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Super Week 2018 on the Will Cain Show.
The Prophet's going to lock it in today. For now, it can feel like a little bit of the kiss of death to say, I think the New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. But I do. You give me the greatest football player of all time in Tom Brady. You give me the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. And you give me 2 weeks, I feel like you would be a moron to bet against New England Patriots.
Super Week 2018. Here's Will Cain.
Tell me about it, Snoop. So much drama. Kind of hard being you, huh? Try being me, Snoop. Try having one of the greatest rappers of all time lighten you up on his social media. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Apparently, Snoop Dogg's not the biggest Will Cain fan. Yesterday, after my appearance on First Take debating Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman on the Washington Redskins nickname and whether or not it should be retired and whether or not is it offensive to the Native American community. Snoop, I don't know what he was on, Instagram, Snapchat, something, made a video zooming in on my face and had some play-by-play of what was going on First Take. Let's just do this now. Let's play this. Snoop, well, see if you can figure out his rebuttal. Like I've got my points on this debate, and Snoop has his points. Listen.
This need to be off the air. You a creep, man. You. Ride his out. Ride him out, Max.
I heard the same thing. I'm trying to remember where on this show about.
So dumb. They should kick your off the air, man. Weirdo. Stephen A., get rid of this right here.
Oh.
Devil. Out of here.
Well, got me with the devil there at the end. Whew.
I don't understand. Why are you a creep?
Creep?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seems
devil was aggressive too.
I wrote him down. This is Snoop's rebuttal to me. I make my points about whether or not the term Redskin is objectively racist or offensive based upon its history. I make my points about whether or not it's intended to be offensive and whether or not it's actually received as offensive. I've laid out my case, and Snoop has lodged his rebuttal. Creep, weirdo, MFer, devil. Well, I'm roasted. I think I've lost. We tried to count up the beeps in there, right? We set the over-under at 10. Did Snoop, in a 22-second clip, go over 10 beeps? Count them up.
This need to be off the air. You a creep, man. You. Ride his out. Ride him out, Max.
I heard the same thing. I'm trying to remember where on this show about.
So dumb. They should kick your off the air, man. Weirdo. Stephen A., get rid of this right here. Devil. Out of here.
God. Here's the thing. With 9 seconds to go, he's on 5 beeps. In the final 9 seconds, he jams 6 more in to make it 11 curse words in a 22-second clip. That means he's got a rate of 1 every 2 seconds. 11 beeps in 22 seconds. Like, I'm a big fan of The Big Lebowski, and he's put it to shame. That's amazing.
How you feeling about it? You bummed?
I've got mixed emotions, to be honest, Rudy. On one hand, I mean, you don't want somebody you grew up listening to love you so much like that. On the other hand, I do feel this way as well. If you think that's going to make me change, if you think that's going to make me change my opinions, cow me, stick my tail between my legs, and shrivel up in the corner so I can form some opinions to be popular with Snoop, you're nuts. You're bananas, and you don't know me. Snoop. I also think this, while I'm at it and rolling, excuse me for just 1 second, Rudy, it's a tad bit disappointing that your childhood image of gangster rap and the image of toughness is now the equivalent of a 12-year-old on social media lodging curse words from behind a Snapchat screen. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Work the body.
You might, I got to do this right or I'll get in trouble. You might reach down or maybe behind you, see if you got anything back there. You know, I'm talking about a spine, of course. See if you've got a backbone and debate me. Call in. Take it on head to head. If I'm so dumb, it should be easy. In 22 seconds, with just a few more extra words, I bet you could take my dumb down.
Right.
I got a solution.
Why is it so hard to just debate somebody? That's what I don't get. Like, all right, run me off the show. Get him off the show, Stephen A. Devil. Why don't you run me off the show, Snoop? Why don't you run me off? I'll be right there. Come debate me off. Come destroy me. I'm right here. Always. Waiting. What are you smiling at?
Easy.
I'm getting mad now.
Excuse me.
What's up, Bill? What's up, Bill?
You're fired up. So the only way that I think we could solve this is a rap battle. That's really about it.
Can we put? This is the thing. I'm not going to play games I can't win. I'm not going to get into a Snapchat battle about who can curse the most. I'm not going to do a rap battle, obviously. I can't get into a pop culture battle because his 17 million Twitter followers, which would have included me, like his fans, I would have fought me 12 hours ago on this. But let's be clear. All these people that come at me, like, we're not actually playing the game of basketball. We're not actually having a rap conversation. We're debating. And when it comes to that, walk carefully. Because with about 10 minutes of prep, I could beat Pavarotti in a debate on opera. So, Snoop, you want to enter my realm? I'm ready to go.
So don't try to book him on the show?
Book him. Book him right now for tomorrow's show. What's that?
We'll try.
Okay. Book him. Dano. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. What were we going to talk about? It was something else. Football.
It was a Russillo tweet about why coaches keep passing on Alex Smith.
Ryan's around here somewhere. Maybe Ryan wants to do that head-to-head. I'm a little fired up right now. I got something about that tweet. Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid have passed on Alex Smith twice. Does that tell you everything you need to know about Alex Smith? I don't think so. It's Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I swear, it's Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Twice in the past 3 minutes. We played the Snoop Dogg audio of what Snoop Dogg thinks of me. And you want me to play it again? Sooner or later, the FCC is going to get mad about this, like even with the beeps, right?
That's all. We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, this is what happened. Snoop said these things. I'll tell you what happened afterwards. Listen to this.
This need to be off the air. You a creep, man. You. Ride his out. Ride him out, Max.
I heard the same thing. I'm trying to remember where on this show about.
So dumb. They should kick your off the air, man. Weirdo. Stephen A., get rid of this mother right here. Devil. Out of here.
You know, if I was a devil, you know, one of the best lines in. Did you ever watch Mad Men? Dude goes in and confronts John Hamm's character. It's just his name's escaping. Don Draper confronts him about. I know who you are. You're fake. You're not really who you say you are. You're this. You're that. You've done this in your life. You've hurt this person in your life. I know who you are. And he sits there and he listens to this person saying all these accusations about who he really is. And quietly, and then he goes, you know, if I really were the kind of person that you're saying I am, if I were sitting on your side of the table, I'd be nervous about confronting me. If I really am a devil, you might be careful, Snoop. If I'm the devil, walk lightly. But during the commercial break, 2 people came in and said to me, what'd you do to make Snoop so mad? Like I had it coming. Like I did this to myself. Thanks, management.
People immediately take Snoop's side. By the way, there's 11 swears
in 22
seconds.
Correct.
So 1 every 2 seconds. That's probably more than any song he's ever had, right?
We should find out. What is the Snoop Dogg song with the most cuss words in it? Does he ever achieve a rate of 1 every 2 seconds?
It'd be impossible. There's no way. We should just run that on loop for 3 minutes, and that's a song with a beat behind it.
1 every 2 seconds. More cuss words at me than in any of his songs. Greater rate. Put it on my tombstone. I'll take it. All right. What did I ask? Oh, yeah. Everybody, where's Russillo? Go get him. He's walking around here somewhere. He tweeted last night.
Hey, girl.
Yes.
Found him.
You got him. Where's Ryan?
Hey, girl.
Ryan, in his anti-Alex Smith arguments that he's had with you on numerous occasions, Cerruti has pointed out now that 2 quarterback gurus have sold Alex Smith. He's been sold twice by quarterback whisperers. Once by Jim Harbaugh to move on to Colin Kaepernick, and once now by Andy Reid to move on to Pat Mahomes. By the way, I promise you this audio will be a little more tame than Snoop Dogg, okay? Brace yourself. It could still hurt. It's still going to be abrasive. It's Mike Golick this morning on Golick and Wingo pointing out, why are you so sure on selling on Alex Smith right now?
I'm amazed at what goes on with Alex Smith, getting ousted in San Fran by Colin Kaepernick and now ousted by Pat Mahomes, a guy who has done nothing. Now, could you imagine? And you know, listen, he's going to struggle. Pat Mahomes did not play his rookie year, barely at all. There is no chance on God's green earth he comes in next year and lights it up.
Imagine if Golick did that same take on Pat Mahomes. You know nothing about Pat Mahomes in Snoop style. Imagine he did that. How long was that clip? That's 20 seconds. So that means Golick has to have 10 swears in that Pat Mahomes take. Can you put them together, Bubba? Can you get me that Golic bite with 10 beeps in it randomly? By the end of the segment, that's what I want to hear. I want to see Golic on Pat Mahomes, Snoop style. While you're working on that, I'm so excited about that. I can't even remember the points I was making.
2 coaches have dumped Alex Smith.
Right. Okay, Ryan, wherever you are. Okay, Ryan.
Hey, girl.
I just want to say, Jay Gruden has spent 4 years with Kirk Cousins. He knows a thing or two about Kirk Cousins. There's no projection for Jay Gruden when it comes to Kirk Cousins, and he is also sold on the devil that he knows. So I'm not sure. By the way, if Jim Harbaugh had a do-over, would he make that same choice? Would he move on from
I don't think so.
Smith to Kaepernick?
It definitely wasn't the right choice long term.
Not long term.
Say what you want about Kaepernick, but he clearly regressed, and Alex Smith is a better quarterback than he was.
Clearly. It was good in the short term.
And listen, I think we like Pat Mahomes, but it's not a slam dunk that he's going to be awesome next year. I'm not saying he's not going to be awesome years from now, but there's a good chance that they win like 6 games next year and regress, right?
They regress with Pat Mahomes in the short term. But in the long term, you got to make this move. I don't begrudge the Kansas City Chiefs this move at all. They have to. They did the deal. They already invested in Mahomes. They believe in Mahomes. It made sense. And it's not an indictment of Alex Smith. Honestly, I'm the guy, and you'll remember this, I did it on Monday Night Countdown. I said like at week 13, it's time to move on to Pat Mahomes. I believe in the whole ceiling argument. I've talked about you know who you are. It's time to come to grips with that self-awareness and play for the long haul. Lob City finally came up with that. The LA Clippers finally looked in the mirror and realized who they were and realized their ceiling. They traded Blake Griffin. The Cleveland Cavaliers need to look long and hard in the mirror and see their ceiling. The Chiefs had to do the same this season. They weren't. What the Chiefs were exactly where it ended up, and that's where it was going to go with Alex. If they moved on to Pat Mahomes, at least the ceiling was higher. But you're right, Rudy, in the short term, it will regress. The hope is the long term, let's call it 2-3 years, that ceiling is much, much higher.
And like I said before, there's a good chance that Alex Smith is going to get Alex Smith again in Washington because they're probably going to draft another young quarterback, and he'll probably be out in 2 years.
The Alex Smith story.
I feel bad for him, man. This is why I'm so sympathetic towards him.
I did until he lied to me yesterday.
Well, that was a bummer.
I was a big Alex Smith fan until he sat here and lied to my face for 7 minutes. Hey, Alex, do you have any idea where you're going? No. I've just been negotiating this $70 million extension with Dan Snyder for the past 12 hours. But no. I
wonder if he literally called Dan Snyder right before and then did our hit.
What do you think Golic thinks? Does Golic think the Pat Mahomes era is going to work out? Bubba?
I'm amazed at what goes on with Alex Smith getting ousted in San Fran by Colin Kaepernick and now ousted by Pat Mahomes, a guy who has done nothing. Now, could you imagine? And listen, he's going to struggle. Pat Mahomes did not play his rookie year, barely at all. There is no chance on God's green earth he comes in next year and lights it up.
It was pretty good, Bubba. You had some opportunities there. I know you did it on the fly.
Tough, yeah.
Right there at the end, the no chance on God's green earth, there was a real opportunity for 2 or 3 beeps right there.
I did my best as quick as I could.
How long do I have? 20 seconds? Do I have time to hear it again? I don't. Dang it!
No.
We're going to use that one again tomorrow. All right. That's my challenge to you over the next 24 hours. Can you fit 11 cuss words into 22 seconds in everyday life? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.